Mr. McCarthy here. In this tutorial, I will show you how to combine images into layers. In our first video, I began two files. The first by going to File, New, and the second, I dragged an image from a folder directly onto the Photoshop icon. I'm not going to do that again because I already have that open. Okay. What I'd like to do now is I would like to put these two together into one document. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and hold this tab and I'm going to pull away. What happens here is you see that I have a free floating individual Photoshop document. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to move it over onto here. And the way that I do that is I go to my Move tool, which is the top of your toolbar here. I'm going to grab right in the middle of the image, and I'm simply just going to drag over. And now I have two layers in one Photoshop document, as you can see here. Let's take a look at layers right now. So I'm going to go up here to Window, Layers. And by the way, if you're looking for individual palettes on Photoshop, they're all listed here. So if for some reason something's not showing up over here that you want, go to Window, Layers. Just go to Window and you can choose from those individual palettes here. For our purposes, layers is what we're looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And this is your layers palette. Very important palette to work with. And so I'm going to just talk about some of the basics here. So right now, I can select between two layers. Background, which is the white, and that was the original document before I brought the image onto it. And then here I have layer 1. With layer 1 selected, I can make changes to layer 1 only. So for instance, if I wanted to use the lasso selector, I could just draw, and then if I hit delete on the delete key, I can put a hole in that image. Okay, I'm going to do a Command Z and step out of that. Now I'm going to do a Command D for deselect. That gets rid of the little ants there. Again, my purpose was to show you that any changes that I make to an individual layer does not affect the rest. Background layers are particularly important. If you want to make changes to the background layer, you have to make sure they're unlocked. So right now my background layer is unlocked. If I go ahead and unlock it, notice what happens. It changes to layer 0. Okay, so these two layers now are very similar. In fact, I can change their order. And what I mean by that is this. I'm going to take layer 1. I'm just going to grab it here. I'm going to move it beneath layer 0. So now layer 0 is on top. Layer 1's there. We just don't see it because it's covered up by the full white box. There are a number of ways to view layer 1. One would be to turn this little eyeball off. So if I turn it off, I see what's underneath. I turn it off here, I don't see anything because it's already covered by the white square. So if I turn both of them off, this is a document in which we're not viewing any of the items. So I can turn the bottom layer on, now I can turn the top layer on. Using these eyeballs doesn't affect the document at all, it's only your ability to view them. Okay, so if I wanted to look at my image by cutting a hole in layer 1, in layer 0, I'd need to make sure that I'm on layer 0. So I'm going to select it, I use this little box, I'm going to hit delete on my delete key, and there's my image below. Okay, I can now, if I choose to, with my move tool, move this layer around because this layer is free floating. Anything that I do on my toolbar right now with layer 0 selected will only affect layer 0 because that's the layer selected. Okay, so I'm going to do Command Z and put things back. Actually, Command Z only steps back once, so if I press Command Option Z, I can do multiple steps back. Okay, so now I'm back to the beginning. Look what happens if I select layer 1 and I do something similar. Okay, so I'm going to draw a square. I'm going to hit delete on my keyboard, delete, and notice nothing happens to layer 0. The reason nothing happens to layer 0 is because I have layer 1 selected. Now if I turn off my eyeball here, you can see I've cut straight through the photo that was on layer 1 because it was selected when I performed that task. Okay, I'm going to go Command Z, put it back. Command D is deselect. Turn the eyeball back on, and there we go. Let's put those back in the right place, and there we go. So we have a photo, topmost layer, on top of a white box, which is layer 0. Okay? So very basics for working with layers. This is Mr. McCarthy signing off.